Hey, welcome to the Social 333 podcast. I'm your host, Chris Bentley. Today, my guest is Daniele Hage.
Mm-hmm.
I got it right.
Good job.
Yes. Daniele, tell the audience a little bit about yourself. What you got going on?
Okay, well, let's see. My husband and I pastor a church in California, and we've been pretty much in full-time ministry since I got married, and we just celebrated 45 years of marriage. I have 3 grown children, 6 grandchildren, and I'm very passionate about marriage and family and helping people to keep their relationships together and bring the best out of one another.
Tell me about the 45 years, because I saw that and I was like really interested in that. How did you manage to keep it? Because I'll be really honest with everybody. Like me and my girlfriend, it's like every other day we're getting into some sort of argument about something, or I think it helps us grow together a lot because, sometimes you have to voice your opinion that you don't like something, and she has to voice her opinion about she doesn't like something about what I'm doing. So tell me how 45 years has kind of worked out. Has it been very smooth? Has it been kind of the trajectory that I'm going on? How has it been?
Well, first of all, arguing is healthy if you can do it productively, constructively, without, murdering each other. Right. But has it been smooth? No, not always. I mean, in 45 years, you kind of walked through everything. And, I would say that what we have going for us is that, first of all, God is the center of our relationship. And we are not perfect by any means. Our marriage is not perfect. We've had our ups and downs throughout the years with children and jobs and losses and all the stuff. But I think what we have going for us is that we have learned to not take ourselves so seriously. We can laugh at each other. We can laugh at ourselves. My husband is a very, very smart, very funny man, and which is the thing that probably won me over to begin with. Probably after 3 times of meeting him, he told me that I was a very likable girl, but he didn't need any distractions in his life. We were very young. I was 18. He was 21, because he was going to be in the ministry and he didn't want any distractions, and women were distractions. And so basically told me he didn't want anything to do with me. And then 18 months later, we were married. And I really didn't think he would be in full-time ministry when I said yes. He told me I would be a pastor's wife, and I said, what is that? I didn't even know what a pastor's wife does. I was raised Catholic, and of course, priests don't have wives, so I'm like, what does a pastor's wife do? Right. And he said, well, don't worry, I'll teach as we go, and that's what he did. And so, but we do have a good sense of humor about relationship, about life, about everything, and we have just learned, I probably have read every book, especially when I was younger, about marriage and family, because I wanted to make sure that I did it right. And I came from a divorced household, and I knew that I did not want that. And we were getting married so young, and he was very, very persistent. And I kept saying, I'm not ready. And then I finally said yes. And so I wanted to make sure that if we were getting married, we were going to stay married. I didn't want to be one of those statistics, divorced. And we're also very happy people. And I knew I didn't want to be in an unhappy marriage. So I said, I'm going to do my homework, and I'm going to learn how to do it the right way, not the way my parents did. And I've had lots of mentors throughout the years. I've read lots of books, and we apply biblical principles to our everyday relationship. And there's times where you've got to swallow your pride. You got to suck it up. Sometimes you just have to close your eyes and go, okay, I'm just going to accept him, and he's had to accept me for who we are, and we can't change each other. And we had to learn that. I had to learn that I could not change him, and I could only change me. And it's been a good run, but it hasn't been perfect for sure. We've definitely had our struggles over the years, but all in all, in the 45 years, I can say most of it absolutely has been really great. Yeah.
That's really interesting, because we have a kind of a rule where, it's kind of my rule too, but it's a situation where if we both get in an argument, or one person is really upset with the other person, or both people are upset with each other, then like the next day or that night we have to settle it. So, like we had a pretty big argument last couple of days ago, and then I just woke up and I was like, all right, well, like I moved on. That was yesterday. Today's today. You know, I really want to be with you. So like, I just have to like, just let yesterday go. And like, you're going to have to, you know, I'm going to have to suck it up.
Yeah. And, you know, I think that is so huge for you as the man to be the one to do that, because, you know, we believe that the man is the head. Doesn't mean he's a dictator, but he's the head of the relationship, of the home. And I think I can honestly say my husband has probably been the one to come back and say he's sorry way more than I have. And I have to admit, I'm probably the more prideful one in that area, but I think it's because he's stronger. You know, he's the head, he's the leader, and he humbles himself and he'll say, okay, you know, what can I do to fix it? What can I do to make it right? And then there's been times, of course, where I've had to too. But I think, you know, conflict, I think one of the things that mess relationships up is trying to avoid any kind of conflict. And my husband was that way at first because he came from a household where his dad was a very angry man, and his dad was the type that would throw things and scream and yell and even hit. And he didn't want to ever be that way. So at first, when we were first married, he would leave. If we got in a conflict, he was a door slammer. He'd walk out. He'd even get in his car and drive away. And I said, this isn't going to work. Like, we have to work all the way through this. And so we had to learn how to do that. And conflict, if you do it right, if you learn to resolve conflict, it can bring you closer. It can really bring you even more intimacy. I always tell people, like, when you have conflict, if you're name calling and accusing and putting each other down and all, that's not going to work. And we've never done that. My husband has never called me names. I've never called him names. But I think, you know, marriage is not for the weak. It's for the mature. And you have to choose to be mature sometimes. There's times where we want to act like toddlers and scream and shout and have tantrums. But if you're going to have a long-lasting, satisfying relationship, again, you have to humble yourselves. You have to be able to overlook things. You sometimes have to be the first one to say, I'm sorry. And that's a vulnerable place to be. But it works.
It does. And a lot of times you have to just kind of got to move on to the next thing.
And let things go. Right. Yeah.
Talk to me about some struggles you've seen in relationships and marriages. I've seen, just because I've been in a couple of different relationships and I've had my own struggles. I came from a very physically and mentally abusive childhood, and I saw a lot of that. And then my dad passed away at a young age. My mom remarried and had a stepdad, and there's a lot of like drama there. And then for me, I was kind of mirroring that, right? Because that's all you know.
That's what you've learned, yeah.
You know, so like I was doing that, and I was like, wait a second, like something. I saw like glimpses of my stepfather as a, you know, like going on, and I was like, I have to correct this. This isn't correct.
Right.
So what have you seen like with a lot of relationships and marriages?
I mean, there's so many different things, so many different kinds of struggles. I really think that marriage, the reason there's so much divorce is because so many marriages are out of order. I mean, they're trying to do it the way that our culture has scripted it to go. And of course, our frame of reference, my husband and I, is the Bible. And so, but I know even Christian marriages, you know, have their problems too. But if you are really trying to do it the way the Bible says to do it, that husband is the leader, the wife submits, you know, and I know women have a problem with that. Even some men do. But I always tell women, if you can't submit to your man, it's because you don't respect him. And why would you marry a man you don't respect?
Right.
Men have to be respected. In fact, and I always tell people this, but there have been studies done that say that more men than not would rather be alone and unloved than to be disrespected. That's huge. What's huge for women is being cherished, being loved. And, you know, men a lot of times show their love through action, not through words. And women will say, well, you don't tell me you love me. But I'll say, does he provide? Does he go to work every day? Does he, you know, help you around the house? Is he a good dad? Like there might be so many other things he's doing right, but he just maybe doesn't say the words. I think one of the things that we get wrong is we fail to realize how different we are, men and women, in general are just biologically designed different, and people don't want to accept that. They want, the culture says, oh, we're exactly the same. We're all equal. We're the same. We are not the same. Men and women are different in so many ways. In so many ways, they are so opposite. And we're attracted to our opposites. That's where the polarity comes in. We are attracted to the opposite, and then we marry our opposite, and we spend the rest of our life trying to change them and make them become just like us. And if they're just like us, that would be so boring. It would be so boring. So first you have to understand the differences. And that's a lot of the teaching I do, is helping people to understand how different we are in every way, how we're motivated, how we think, how we speak, how we listen, how we relate to feelings. I always say one of women's biggest mistakes is thinking that men should relate to their feelings the way a woman relates to hers. For women, our feelings are everything to us. Everything. For men, they are taught from a young age, don't show emotion, be strong. If you show emotion, that's considered weakness. So they're not as good at talking about their feelings. In general, some men are very good. My husband is a communicator. He's a preacher. He's very good at talking about feelings, but his feelings are very strong. He's very intense. He's a very passionate man. And I'll say, how do you feel about something? And then I'm sorry I asked, because his feelings are so strong. I'm like, you can't feel that way. Well, who am I to say you can't feel that way? Mm-hmm. Feelings aren't good or bad, right or wrong. What you do with those feelings are good, bad, right or wrong. So women have a tendency to maybe act on their feelings more than men do. But just understanding that men don't relate to their feelings the way we do. Once we understand that, then we drop our expectations and we stop taking everything personal. Women take way too many things personal that men do. The way they look at them, or something they say, or they feel like they're ignoring them. And I mean, we just take everything when it comes to men. All these hits to our self-esteem because we think stuff they're doing is personal when it's them just being a normal, healthy man. So I think we have to look at the differences and accept the differences. And if you cannot accept a certain behavior, you have two options. You can accept it or reject it. But if you say, okay, this isn't my favorite part of this man or this woman, but I'm going to accept it. That's who they are. That means you don't nag, you don't complain, you don't gripe about it. It means you accept it and you shut up. Okay. And then if you're going to reject it, you're free to walk away. If there's a certain behavior you cannot accept, your only other option is to walk away. But if you're married, okay, and hopefully you find out those things while you're dating, okay? But if you're married, then there are certain things you're going to have to, like you said, let go and just say, well, I'm not going to end the marriage over this. It's not worth ending the marriage over. And then you have to go to what I always tell people, are they 51% valuable? Just 51%. A little bit more valuable than not. And people always say, well, yes, of course, they're 80%. Okay, then let it go. They're just, we're different people. We're trying to bring two people that were raised completely different together, and we usually make a mess out of that because I have my tools that I learned from growing up. Maybe not the best tools. He had his tools, really bad tools growing up, and we're trying to bring it all together, and we make a big mess, and we call it marriage. But that's where you have to learn each other, and then again, even before marriage. That's what the whole dating process is about, learning each other. But what do people do these days? We live in the hookup culture. Jump into bed, and then your emotions get all messed up, and it literally clouds your judgment. Once you're sleeping with somebody, it clouds your judgment. Because women, they get emotionally attached through sex. Men, not so much. They bond other ways, but not necessarily through sex. That's why you hear about men, having lots of different partners. No big deal to them. But women, they take hits to their self-esteem when they have sex with a guy, first or second date, and he doesn't call back the next morning. And then they're all hurt about it, right? And it must be me. What did I do wrong? Maybe you didn't do anything wrong. Maybe for him, it was just sex. But for her, she started a relationship. So we live in that culture, and I always ask, where did courtship go? Where did we, the dating idea was, the way dating was designed is to get to know somebody, to see, do I want to spend the rest of my life with this person? Are they marriage material? and really getting to know them up front. Don't jump in bed. That's going to mess everything up. Get to know each other. And then if things are going good, you have a lot of things in common, more things than you don't. I mean, people connect at values. So if you have to have the same values, or pretty closely the same values, the same kind of faith. Either you're a believer or you're not, whatever. You like the same things. You want the same things about family. I always tell women, if a man tells you up front he doesn't want kids and you do, it was really nice meeting you. We want different things. But what women do, because they sleep with the man and then they get emotionally attached and they think, once I get him to fall in love with me, I'll change his mind and he'll want kids. And then they get married and he still doesn't. And then they're very unhappy. Mm-hmm. Or maybe the woman doesn't want kids. Believe her if she says that. But a lot of times, and it's usually women that go into a relationship thinking, I can change him. Once I get him all fixed up, I get him to wear his hair right, I get him to dress right, I get him to mind his manners. Once I change him, he's got so much potential, then he'll be the perfect man and we'll be perfectly happy and live happily ever after. But what I try to convince women is that you can't change them. They might seem like they're changing for a minute. Once you get married, they're going to go right back to being who they really are. So get to know the real him. Get to know the real her.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things I want to talk about. The first thing, I'm going to get to social media at the end here, but I think the first thing is, I don't think there's a perfect. There's people that are close. I've dated a lot of women that are very close to something that I want to have as a marriage. Like the girl I'm dating now is very, very close, right? But I don't think it's ever going to be perfect.
No.
There's never going to be the same person for me in a female form, right? And I had to take it kind of a step back and realize that, yeah, she is my significant other and my best friend, but she isn't my guy best friend, right?
Right.
Like, we're not homies. We don't go out and do guy stuff. She's very delicate, very feminine, very here and for me, but I have to have another role as a best friend as with a guy.
Sure.
And I think and it's kind of, I don't know, maybe I'm on my own island on this one, but that's kind of how I've kind of learned, has been like, okay, well, she is my girl here, but I also have to have my guy friends and we do guy stuff.
Sure.
She doesn't do that kind of stuff.
Right. Yeah. One person is never going to meet every single need. And the reason that is because there is no perfect person. There is no perfect person. So if you're looking for the flawless, perfect human, you are going to be looking your whole entire life. Mm-hmm. But that's where you have to get to the point where, like I heard someone the other day say, well, they're just not the whole package. Is anybody the whole package? Who's the whole package? Name one person that's the whole package. They have the perfect look, the perfect personality, the perfect work ethic, the perfect, they have good smelling breath when they wake up in the morning. There is no such thing because there is no perfect human being. So we have to accept that too. And guess what? You're not the whole package either. I'm not perfect either. There is no perfection. So we have to accept that. And yes, one person will never meet my every need. I have needs that my kids fulfill. I have needs that my girlfriends fulfill. I have needs that my instructor for whatever lesson I'm taking fulfills. If I look to my husband to be my everything, I'm going to be very disappointed. Very disappointed. And I think we have way big expectations. And our expectations even change after marriage. They even change from going from girlfriend or boyfriend to fiance. Now all of a sudden we have different expectations of how that should look. And then we get married. And I think a lot of people think that marriage, the commitment of marriage, that once you say I do, that there's this magic pill. It's a magic pill and everything's wonderful. All the stuff I didn't like when we were dating, marriage will change all of that. No. Marriage will magnify all the stuff that you didn't like. It'll get worse because people become who they really are, right? When you're living with them day in and day out, you're going to see the realness. But that's where the maturity comes in. That's where you have to use some discipline, and you can't let your mind go there. And so many people, when things starts going wrong in your marriage, I thought this was happily ever after. Now all of a sudden, I'm not that happy. Oh, I must have married the wrong person. No, You need to learn to love and accept the person you married, period. But if we start thinking, well, maybe that guy or that girl, because they didn't do it this way, that guy I dated or that girl I dated. Well, now you're starting to think, and that's where deception seeps in, the grass is greener. And you still are going to have to mow that grass. You're still going to have to water that grass that's on the other side. So why not water and take care of the grass that you have right now? Why not allow that to grow instead of thinking there might be something better out there?
Well, that's going to be the next thing I want to talk about, which is social media, and especially TikTok, because there's females out there that'll scroll all day. If the guy doesn't have any money, they're called dusties, right?
Oh, yeah,
and then if the guy has money, he's a sugar daddy, right? Mm-hmm. So he's got money. And then you get, guys that are 6 foot. They think that women, like all women think that there's just a million guys that are 6'3", washboard abs, can fly them out to Dubai, pick them up in a G-Wagon filled with roses, go out to their yacht,
it's the
just
fantasy.
sit on their yacht all day, and then, get flown back. And they're sitting at home like, oh, yeah, I really want that guy.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, their guy is out working every day as a barista, let's say, making coffee. But they want also the guy that's going to sit there and watch Netflix series for the whole night and cuddle
with their buddy
and not work. Right?
Yeah, right.
So there's like a lot of this. What I'm seeing is like a lot of just what you're saying. The grass is always greener on this side. I'm going to jump on this side for now. I'll go with this guy because he's got the boat and he's got the Lamborghini and the washboard abs and he's 6'3". And then when I need like the cuddle buddy for, Wednesday night, Netflix night, then I'm going to call this guy and he's going to come over. Or this guy is going to buy me this kind of handbag. And it's just like this whole kind of hopping around situation.
It's fantasy land. It's not real. And I think maybe because of social media, that's what maybe some young girls think is out there. I just heard a statistic that, there's 300 million people in the US and there's only like 2% of men that even fit that category. The right height, the right money, the right stuff, 2%. So, I mean, good luck. Good luck, ladies. But what I tell women, young women, is do not marry for money or status or the right weight or height. Marry for character because money can be gone like that overnight. I mean, we were doing really, really well in our lives and we lost everything one year.
Wow.
When the economy turned around in 2008, we lost everything. I didn't marry my man for money, but he was so discouraged. He said, you need to be with someone who can give you more. And that broke my heart. I said, you had nothing when I married you. We were kids. We built our kingdom together. I'm not going anywhere. Like, what are you talking about? But I know men feel like they want to build to provide, right? And we made it through that. But I tell women and men, marry for character. People that have but I know so many people who are very wealthy people who are miserable in their marriages. Money doesn't buy you happiness. It doesn't buy you a sustained, satisfying relationship, material stuff. Marry because of who the guy is on the inside. Get to know who he is. And a guy who has a good work ethic, who wants to take care of a woman, he's going to be a good provider. He's going to work hard. He's compelled to work hard. A guy who is 40 years old and still living at home with his parents, who has nothing to give you, he might have good character, but he can't even provide for himself yet. That's not the right one either. Like, you want a guy that is doing his best. He's got some vision. He's got some purpose in his life. And yes, of course, you need to be somewhat attracted to him. But what I see for women is, and even for men, when that chemistry is triggered, too much chemistry because you're so attracted to a person, you can't be yourself. I tell women all the time, if you find a guy that you are so ridiculously attracted to, you can barely speak in his presence, run run the other way. It's not going to work for you because you're never going to show up who you are. And you're going to be pretend. You won't be authentic because you're going to think, oh my God, I have to have him. So you're going to try to be everything you think he might want you to be. You don't even know him yet. And you won't be who you are. And same with men. I've talked to men who are so attracted to a woman that they can't even be who they are in front of them. That's not the right match for you. Like from a scale from 0 to 10, 10 being the most attractive, 0 being like I would throw up if they touched me. You need to go for like a 5 or 6, something in the middle where they're like, you're not grossed out by their looks at all. Like they're cute, they're pretty, but not to the point where you can't think straight, when you're around them. But again, because of social media and the movies, on all the rom-coms and stuff like that, we kind of have got it very much turned around in our minds and thinking that perfect person, the most attractive, the richest is out there and he's going to be mine. And you know what I see on social media that cracks me up is I see some of these women, young girls who are overweight. They're wearing clothes that are not flattering on their bodies at all. And they are saying they want a 10. They want a guy who's a 10, who makes 6 figures, over 6 figures, who drives the Lamborghini and this and that. And they're not a 10. And I'm like, you think you're going to get a 10? Like you attract who you are. So to me, it's like you are living in fantasy land. Who told you could have that kind of man? So it's just, I think just people have gotten things very mixed up in our world today.
Yeah, I think social media has definitely ruined a lot of not only the chemistry, but the dating, like a lot of that stuff, because it's exactly what you said. Like he has to be 6'3", he has to be a millionaire,
So
has
silly.
to be, and it's just like, well, like, sorry, like it just doesn't, there isn't that many people. Here in Texas, there's a lot of tall folks, but for the most part, I grew up on the East Coast. There isn't like a whole lot of tall people. So,
well, when I married my husband or met my husband, he was not my type. Not the type that I thought I wanted. Of course, I'm very young. What do I even know yet at 18? But I was not attracted to him physically. I wasn't. And he even laughs when I say this. And then he opened his mouth. And I started getting to know him. And something came over me because I was just like, I didn't give him a second look. I didn't give him the time of day when I was introduced to him. Nobody was trying to fix us up. It was just like we were at a wedding.
Right.
And he had friends and I had friends and they, this is Steve Hage. And I was just like, okay, yeah, I turned around, walked away. And then we came together again and we started getting to know each other. And something literally, I saw his intellect, his sense of humor. He had no money. He's 5'7". I'm 5'4". He's not a big old tall guy. He did have a nice chest and nice arms, but he didn't even work out at that time. That was just natural. But he wasn't my type. But I started getting to know him and I mean, oh my God, he could make me laugh. And he was very confident in who he was. And he was very, very focused. He had a plan. He knew exactly where he was headed. All of that made me feel really safe. I felt very safe around him. He wasn't even, I can't even say he really was polite. He didn't have great manners, but he made me laugh. And I remember I would look at him and I would marvel. I'd be like, dude, he didn't know how to dress. And I was always into fashion. I think I bought him his first nice shirt and pair of pants. But I had so much fun with him. I was kind of enamored by him. I'd never met anybody like him. And we could talk for hours, where it'd be like, I have to go to bed. I have school in the morning or I have to go to work. How did 3 hours go by? But we came from totally different backgrounds, but we found that commonality and I enjoyed him so much. I even tried to break up with him. I moved an hour away because I thought he was very persistent. I could feel like I was falling in love with him, but I'm like, I'm too young. I have too many things I want to do. I have to finish college. I have to get my career. And I moved away thinking out of sight, out of mind, he'll go away. Oh no, he didn't. He didn't go away. He said, I will come see you every weekend. I moved to the beach. And I said, no, you won't. I said, your car can't even make it an hour. He goes, oh no, you watch. I'm going to get my car fixed. I will be down every weekend. I thought, yeah, right. And he did it. And that blew my mind.
Nice.
A man of his word. He does what he says. Chuck, at one point for him. And I mean, he did, to the point where, and then of course I was lonely. I moved away. I didn't have any friends. And then I couldn't wait to see him. Distance really did make my heart grow fonder. And then he and my sister convinced me to move back, and we did. And then he asked me to marry him. Yeah. But had I said, okay, there was no online dating back in those years, okay? This is 45 years ago. Had I seen him in a picture, I would have swiped. Whatever you swipe left or right, whatever the way, when you say no, I would have swiped because I wasn't attracted to him. And I always tell women, they go, oh, you don't know what's out there because they're online dating. And I go, how do you know who he is if you haven't even had a conversation? Mm-hmm. You're judging by his appearance. If I had judged by my husband's appearance, we would not have 3 beautiful children, 6 grandchildren, and 45 years of marriage. Wow. It's like, that's the shallowness of our culture today.
Mm-hmm. Daniele, if somebody wanted to get in touch with you, learn more about yourself, and I know you have a great pastor and co-pastor set up, how would they reach you?
So you can find me on social media, of course. On Instagram is probably my biggest platform. I'm on YouTube. I am on Facebook, but let me just tell you, my Facebook page got hacked. Oh, no. And it's so sad. They're posting the most ridiculous stuff on my page that is the most random stuff that I would never post. And now they've started reposting my videos because I think they were losing followers. Because I kept saying, that's not me, it's not me. Come follow me over here. We started a new page. It's Daniele Hage, Relationship Expert, to set it apart from the other Daniele Hage. I just launched a private coaching community on Instagram, and it's through the school platform where you get all kinds of my content. There's videos, there's a whole section for men. I'm getting ready to launch the whole section for women, and I did the men first because I have more men followers. And I'm really excited about it. And then once a month, we're starting out with once a month, we're doing live question and answer Zoom calls. You can ask me anything. And so that's been really fun. We just had our first month question and answer. Our next one's coming up September 2nd. So join my community and I can see you there.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome.